Hello everyone, how's it going? And welcome to my Wild Rift tier list for patch 5.3b. An incredible patch this time around with some insane buffs, moving some champions from all the way down in B and A tier to S and S plus tier, which you might be able to notice some of the changes already on this screen. But I'm going to be talking about all the buffs and nerfs and what I've learned from some of these changes. But as always, if you have a different opinion to me, if you feel like a champion deserves to be higher or lower, let me know down in the comments, and make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel, because in the next video, I'm going to be talking about some of the best champions that you should be playing in this patch. First, let's go and talk about the Baron lane. Probably the lane that didn't really change that much this patch. There wasn't really any buffs or nerfs to some champions. There is one champion that I do want to talk about though. There were rumors going around online, which I haven't checked myself yet. I just haven't had the time to check myself. But apparently Ambessa has received this kind of secret nerf in a way. A lot of people noticed on the Chinese patch notes that there was some nerfs to Ambessa, but on the English patch notes, there were no changes at all. I contacted my Riot contact and they didn't get a reply either. So I'm not really too sure what's going on there. I'll have to compare kind of the website stats to the stats in game and see like what has been changed and what's actually been done to Ambessa. But I definitely feel like she's a lot weaker than what she was before with maybe these changes that have come in. I was playing a lot of Ambessa when she was first released, and some of you might have seen some of my screenshots with how incredible the games were. I've played her since this recent patch, and she doesn't feel nowhere near as strong. And I've been playing with and against some Ambessas as well. So I'm not too sure if that secret nerf has actually been in the game for quite some time or not. I'm not too sure. But yeah, Ambessa definitely feel a bit weaker in the top lane. Still very strong in the jungle though, which I'll talk about in just a second. But yeah, Ambessa a little bit weaker in the Baron lane. So I moved her down from S tier down to A tier. Other than that, no other changes. Everything else has stayed pretty much exactly the same. We still have the best tank in the top lane with Maokai. We still have the best AP champion, kind of a hybrid champion, with Mordekaiser building this AP/tank. And then the two best bruisers being Darius and Camille. Both these champions doing incredibly well at catching out backline carries and just doing really well at carrying in team fights. Other than that, moving down the list, not really too much else to talk about in the Baron lane. S tier has stayed the same, except for, you know, Ambessa moving down. Wukong, I feel like, is maybe one of the most underrated champions at the moment in the Baron lane. Very, very strong. Been playing a lot of games on him. Hint, hint, he is the champion that I will be recommending for this patch in the Baron lane. So a very good champion to play. A great carry as well at the same time. But you still have other tanks that you can play. Ornn split pushing Shen is very popular right now because you can just split push, join a team fight with your ultimate, which is absolutely great. A tier, we saw some other champions down here. Kayle still stays in the A tier, still a fairly decent champion. Obviously takes a bit of a time to scale up, but since that scaling is now at level 13, she has now become a lot stronger. But again, some other tanks, Sion, Malphite, Teemo still up there as well, which is quite nice. And then the B in the C tier, again, not really too much has changed with these champions. You know, Pantheon in top lane, yes, he got buffed a few patches ago, but he is a lot better in the jungle, kind of similar to Ambessa. And then you still have the likes of Nasus up here, you know, Tryndamere, Olaf, Irelia, Vladimir, Singed, you know, all these champions in general, not really too strong. We know that Singed is getting a rework very soon. We don't know on the date exactly, but it's probably going to be related to Arcane's time. So I wouldn't be surprised if not this weekend, but maybe the week after that could be where we get Singed rework after Arcane Act 3 comes out, potentially. Moving into the jungle, as I mentioned, Ambessa jungle still very good, still very powerful when clearing through the jungle. One of the fastest clearing junglers at the moment in the game. She is paired up with the likes of Xin Zhao, Wukong in the jungle, which again, two very strong bruisers that can be played a lot. Both of them have a lot more crowd control. I think Wukong and Xin Zhao are definitely more reliable than Ambessa. Ambessa is more of a carry, a utility carry, whereas Wukong and Xin Zhao are more utility as well at the same time. You know, Wukong with his knockup, Xin Zhao with his knockup as well when his ultimate, being able to zone enemy champions away. And then you have Lilia as the best AP champion in the jungle at the moment. Maybe not as strong as the other junglers, but in terms of the AP damage sources in the jungle, then Lilia is definitely up there. Moving down to the S tier. Oh, some big changes in the S tier. Okay, let's talk about Rengar moving down first. Rengar moving down, no surprise really with the nerfs that happened in the most recent patch. I think that they've nerfed a lot of his base damage, his first ability especially, but he is still a great carry. So he still stays in the S tier. He's still great at one-shotting. He still has his ultimate for his playmaking potential. His jungle clear speed is still great as well. So even though he has moved down from the S+ tier down to the S tier, he is still a very strong champion. Moving across to Shyvana. Now, when I read originally the patch notes, I was thinking to myself that the changes weren't really that impactful, but actually Riot made a little mistake on the patch notes. Shyvana's change was actually to large monsters instead of epic monsters. So that 8 to 10 that got increased, that's not towards epic monsters, that's towards large monsters. And if you don't know, there is a large monster in every single jungle camp. So you're getting a total of 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. You're getting a total of 12 extra stacks when you fully clear the jungle. I had to work that out very quickly in my head. So yeah, you can get as much as 60 stacks now when you fully clear the jungle. That doesn't include kills, that doesn't include assists, that doesn't include Scuttle Crab, and that doesn't include any epic objectives. And with Shyvana now, you can get full stacks, which is 400 stacks, at as little as 9 to 10 minutes into the game, which, as you know, that's kind of where the spike comes in with Shyvana. She's kind of similar to KO in a way where she needs to scale, she needs to get a little bit of farm, but when she gets some stacks, she's going to be very powerful. So Shyvana, with the buffs that came in, she now gets Fury regen a lot quicker as well on her ultimate. So all you need to do now is farm 1 or 2 camps, and then you have your ultimate straight back up again. I mean, this champion, very strong in low elo, like probably the best champion to play right now in the jungle in low elo. As you go into high elos, it maybe is a little bit more difficult. Junglers will start to invade. People know how to play against Shyvana, but she still is a very strong carry to play. Echo as well, again, a very strong buff that came through for Echo. He's moved up in both the jungle and the mid lane. Jungle, I still feel like is his best position, even though they did nerf his jungle clear speed ever so slightly, I would say, with the percentage going down from 120 to 110% on his first ability. However, he did gain that base damage, and he did also gain the cooldown reduction as well. So maybe his jungle clear speed during the early levels are not that great, but as the game goes on, his jungle clear speed will get probably better than what it was before. And also it means you just do more damage to champions. Your ganking potential is going to be a lot better. You can also run the likes of Fleet Footwork on him as well to proc his passive much sooner. I still think that the likes of Electrocute and maybe First Striker a bit better in the jungle because you're more of a carry in the jungle and you don't really benefit too much from Fleet Footwork. Both of these other runes you can carry a lot more with, and you could do a lot more burst damage, but there's kind of this flexibility with Echo. And again, his damage output is great. He has his ultimate to get ways to safety as well. Great champion to play in general. Other than that, everything else in the S tier, as far as what I've written down, yeah, everything has stayed the same in terms of the S tier. You know, nothing else has really changed in terms of whatever other champions are here. There are 2 champions that have moved down though from S tier down to A tier, and that is Kha'Zix and Kayn. We are slowly moving away from kind of these assassin junglers being very powerful. You know, these bruisers like Ambessa, Wukong, Xin Zhao, Vi, Aatrox, Shyvana, you know, a lot of these bruiser junglers are now becoming a lot stronger, and that's bringing the power down for some of these assassins, especially assassins that don't really have a lot of setup potential. If you think of the assassins that are in like the S tier, for example, Rengar has his ultimate, which allows him to engage very easily. Echo has his second ability that allows him to engage. Talon has his ultimate. Pantheon can jump in with his ultimate. You know, all these champions have, you know, so many ways and so much utility and stuns to actually set them up. Whereas Kha'Zix and Kayn maybe don't have that same potential as the likes of the other assassins in the tier above. You know, Kha'Zix can get really good resets with his third ability, but the champions need to be super low on health. And when you're playing against some of these bruiser junglers, it can be a little bit difficult. And when you jump into the backline, you don't have the same CC as, say, someone like an Echo or Rengar to actually lock players down. Same with Kayn as well. You can go through walls with Kayn, and again, both these champions are still very good, but Kayn maybe setup potential is not there compared to the others. But again, both the champions are still good. I just don't think they're as strong as the S tier champions. That's why I moved them down to A tier for now, just because of the way that the game is working. You know, champions are being buffed, which means eventually champions will go down a tier. You know, Shyvana, Echo going up a tier, Kha'Zix and Kayn going down a tier. I think that's pretty much everything in the jungle. Yeah, I mean, both these junglers are kind of out of meta. I did move Morgana down as well from A tier to B tier. Her jungle clear speed is just great. I just don't feel her impact at all when she's playing in the jungle. She's still a decent jungler to play, but maybe she's just not that strong in terms of just clearing through the jungle and doing pretty well. Other than that, I think that's everything with the jungle. Into the mid lane, Heimerdinger did receive some nerfs, but I still think he is extremely powerful. I don't think the nerfs were enough again. I think that the problem was that this champion was so overtuned at launch. I mean, if there was like a S++ tier that I had, which is really fake to be fair, like that's not really a thing. Like if I had a god tier or whatever, which shouldn't really be a thing in tier lists, I think that Heimerdinger would have been up there for such a long amount of time. The nerfs are slowly bringing him down in power, but he's still a very strong champion to play. His third ability doesn't have the same setup potential because the AoE is not that big anymore. But again, the champion's still great for zoning potential, still has great damage, still has the crowd control as well. So in general, Heimerdinger is still very strong. Not as strong as what he was before. Obviously, especially with the AP ratios getting nerfed, his late game is not as powerful. But again, the champion is still great. Syndra and Yasuo stay up here as well. Again, Syndra being one of the best, if not the best mid laner at the moment right now. Yasuo, of course, with his tank build, or whether you go for the full damage build, even with Wit's End getting nerfed, again, still a very strong champion to play. Echo again, moving up into the S tier. I already mentioned in the jungle, but I have Fleet Footwork in the mid lane. Fleet Footwork, Echo in the mid lane. Plus, if you go for like Resolve Tree, for example, like Nullifying Orb, Second Wind, Perseverance, or Overgrowth, you know, runes like that, he becomes very, very difficult to clear in the mid lane. And every single time you need to keep your eye on your Fleet Footwork. Every single time your Fleet Footwork is up, you can dash in with your third ability, auto attack 2 times, and then use your first ability, and then you can easily run away. It's a great way to proc the Fleet Footwork passive, but it's also a great way of trading against enemy champions. You can dash in, quickly proc your movement speed, and then run away to safety and dodge away from skill shots. So again, Echo really good. His wave clear got a lot better as well with the base damage on his first ability. So in general, Echo moving up is absolutely great. Everything else in the S tier has stayed the same. No one else has moved down or moved up. The only other champion that has moved up, this is from B to A tier, is Lucian, but I'll talk about Lucian a bit more in the dual lane because Lucian is absolutely busted right now. Only reason I don't have him higher in the mid lane is because you don't have that same support potential, especially with his new passive and also his new second ability. If you do have some CC in the jungle though, there is a way that if you get camped in the mid lane, you can just keep proccing your new passive over and over again. But other than that, not really any other changes in the mid lane. But yeah, dual lane. We have to talk about Lucian. I mean, Lucian is absolutely insane right now. The crazy thing is now with Lucian, you actually want an enchanter more than an engaged support, which wasn't really the thing before with the way Lucian wanted to play. But now with Lucian's PC League of Legends passive moving into Wild Rift, this actually means that enchanter supports like Nami, Lulu, for example, these enchanter supports actually benefit Lucian quite a bit because you're getting these shields, you're getting these buffs, but at the same time, you're also getting bonus damage to yourself as well. And that's without items like Ardent, for example. You know, Nami is a great option for those who play PC League of Legends or even watch it. Everyone knows how annoying Lucian Nami is because Lucian has, Nami has CC with her first ability, CC with her ultimate. She has a buff with her third ability, which procs the Aerie Shield, which gives you the passive of Lucian, and the second ability heals. All 4 of Nami's abilities now procs Lucian's new passive, which is, if you don't know Lucian's new passive, every single time he gets healed or shield, or every single time a champion is CC close to him, his next 2 auto attacks are going to deal bonus magic damage, which scales off of his overall attack damage. So this does mean you want to build a lot of AD now, because then you can scale with your bonus damage that you get with your new passive, which is absolutely great. And also at the same time, the second ability got a little bit of a buff, where if allies also proc your second ability, then you can also get the bonus damage with your next 2 auto attacks. This has made him such an incredibly strong champion. Yes, his base AD went down, but to be honest, that is nothing compared to how much bonus damage you are getting now with your new passive. So Lucian, definitely one of the best, if not the best at the moment in the dual lane. Again, doesn't matter if you do get paired with a tank support or with an enchanter. Enchanter is obviously better, but tank supports are still great, especially because of the crowd control. Same champions still stay in the S+ tier, Kayn because of the range. Varus, I want to try a new build with Varus where people go and Fleet Footwork in China. I'm going to probably give that a try and see how that works. Xayah is still up there as well. Miss Fortune, I mean, a lot of you might be happy about this, but Miss Fortune, I finally moved up into S tier as well. I have a list on the right hand side just so I don't forget the changes that I've done in the tier list. Miss Fortune moved from A tier up into S tier. I think she's a lot stronger than what she was before. I was being a little bit hesitant before. I knew her buffs were very, very strong, but I just didn't know if she would still play the same, if she would still have the same problems, which yes, she still has the same problems. That's why she's not in the S plus tier. That's why she's not completely busted and she can't really play it every game. However, her damage output is definitely a lot higher than what it was before. And her buffs that she received, not last patch, but the patch before, has definitely made her a lot stronger. So she has moved up. And Kalista has moved down. This is at A tier. The nerfs that happened to Kalista with the base AD a few patches ago, and just in general, Kalista is not as strong as what they were before because of, you know, with just damage output in general. Early game used to be the strong point of Kalista. Now it's more of trying to scale, which is not really where Kalista shines, which is a little bit of a struggle. Samira received some buffs, but I still don't think she's strong enough, so she stays in the A tier. I don't think the buffs were strong enough at all. Whoops, didn't mean to do that. Supports kind of changed a little bit. There are some buffs and some nerfs here and there. I mean, the nerf to Janna wasn't really too big in my opinion. I mean, nerf Janna's early game, especially with the likes of the what was it that got nerfed again? The third ability, the cooldown reduction, got increased during the early game, but it stays the same in the late game. So Janna's late game is still really, really powerful. However, her early game is a little bit weaker. She doesn't have her shield as much as what she did before. But to be fair, her shield is all about timing. Most of the time, you're not really trading that much with Janna during the laning phase. Janna is still one of the best enchanter supports in terms of peeling. You know, so much knockups, so much knockbacks as well. There are so many ways in which Janna can help her team. So that's why Janna is still staying in the S plus tier. Leona, Maokai, I've moved back up as well. I mean, I moved Maokai down, honestly. I don't really know why. I think that was a complete mistake by me. Leona and Maokai, both by far the best two tank supports right now in the game. So much crowd control, so much CC. There maybe is a world that you can run Aftershock on some of these champions now. I do think Glacial Augment is still better just because of the utility it has with the slow and also the damage reduction that you're giving to the enemy. However, Aftershock could be a kind of a more carry way of playing these champions. Into the S tier now. Nautilus has moved up from A tier to S tier. The buffs were really, really nice for Nautilus. It did nerf Nautilus in the jungle with the AP version. However, he did get more base damage and also you got more attack damage as well. So a lot more trading power during the early game, a lot more tankiness as well with his second ability shield. So he's kind of going back to one of the best tank supports with how much crowd control and how easy he is to play. Blitzcrank has gone from B tier to S tier. The base damage that they gave to Blitzcrank was absolutely absurd. And I mean, the problem with Blitzcrank, right, is that if you overbuff Blitzcrank, he becomes the best support in the game. And you might be thinking why. He has one of the best abilities in the game with the hook. If he can find a single hook on a great carry on the enemy team, he can turn the game. He can turn the fight in an instant. He hooks, he uses ultimate, the enemies can't escape, he lands a knockup, boom. The game is completely over. That one carry is pretty much dead. And this is a scary thing about buffing a champion like Blitzcrank. You know, the ultimate base damage went up, the first ability base damage went up. So he has a lot more burst damage potential. And also with the new Zeke's coming into play, you got more damage from that as well. So again, Blitzcrank, very good champion to play right now, especially if you're against enchanter supports. If the enemy team picks like Lulu, Karma, Lux, Janna, anyone like that, you pick Blitzcrank. Blitzcrank, you hook them in as an enchanter. They don't know what to do. They just don't know how to escape and they don't know how to play against Blitzcrank. So that's why Blitzcrank's moved on to S tier. Milio's moved down from S plus tier to S tier. The nerfs were pretty big to Milio this time around. However, I do feel like Milio is still a very strong champion. You're not given as much attack speed and attack range as what you did before, but still in just in terms of the healing and the shielding that you have, the cleanse, the CC cleanse that you have on your ultimate still means that this champion is going to be very, very good in general. And I think that might be it. My list, I've gone through everything in my list. There are no other changes in terms of supports. You know, everything else has kind of stayed the same in terms of supports. Nothing else has moved around. I do have to kind of shout out Nami in a way. Nami is rising quite heavily in terms of win rate. However, it's all because of Lucian Nami. Like, Nami is not really that strong as a support by herself. However, with Lucian, probably one of the best supports with Lucian right now. So that's why Nami's so strong, which is kind of what happens with win rate sometimes. When the AD carry gets strong, the supports that get paired the best with them AD carries also rise up. There was a time where, you know, Jinx Lulu, for example, was a prime example. Obviously, Lulu is still good, but yeah, when hyper carry is not really that strong, then Lulu goes down in terms of win rate. But Lulu in general is just still a really, really strong champion. But anyway, as I was saying, that is pretty much everything with the tier list. Again, as always, if you have any different opinions, if you feel like a champion should move up or should move down, please let me know. But yeah, really, really nice patch overall. Honestly, I feel like the meta in general is in a pretty good spot. I can't really think of a champion right now that I ban every single game that is completely busted. I think my most banned champion right now is actually Lucian when I don't want to play him. If I'm playing another lane, if I don't play Lucian AD carry, I think I'm banning Lucian every single time. Oh, and Mordekaiser. Mordekaiser is also the most annoying champion to play against. Other than that, I don't think there's too much. I don't really ban Ambessa too much. I don't think she's like that strong. Xin Zhao is pretty good as well. I think my top 3 bans right now are Lucian, Mordekaiser, and probably Ambessa or Heimerdinger. The Donger is still scary as well. But in general, there's not like any champions that I can think that are like beyond broken, like absolutely crazy, you know, godly at the moment, basically. Anyway, I'm yapping too much. Appreciate you tuning into the video. Take care of yourselves. Have a good rest of the day, and I'll see you in the next one video. Peace.